even creators, when they meet me, they think my content is a silly little hobby because I still have my day job. But little do they know, it pays like 3-4 times my tech salary.
Angelica Song, you're a full-time corporate girly, full-time content creator. You're showing your audience that you can balance both the corporate world with the creator universe.
I also grew up as a competitive figure skater. I would skate before school as an elementary student. I'll do a 5 a.m. session. I've always very much been that girl that kind of did everything and too much. I love that.
Big achievement that you did last year is that you bought a house.
I just #hustled grind. It was hard sometimes when I have a lot of creator friends who would buy the nice bags. They would always treat themselves and like live a life of luxury. I'm really proud to say I did this 100% by myself, and it's like a daily physical reminder of my hard work.
I'll see and talk to a couple of influencers. What makes your content distinct, unique, and
It's kinda the same.
many times everyone's like, oh, I just like taking photos.
And for a lot of people, that works, especially like
And I think that's just so unfair.
Yeah, for non-POC people, that works. Think about the big white creators and think about the big Asian creators. Just look at the quality of the content difference. And that's all I have to say.
Hello, Angelica. Welcome to Happy Hour.
Welcome.
Thank you
Why
so
would I
much.
say welcome?
Oh, welcome
thank
to your
you.
house.
Thank you.
To your house. Yeah, we're in Angelica's house, and I'm so excited to be here. Let's get into it. I'm sitting right next to Angelica Song. You're a 24-year-old Gen Z, and this is what your manager said, a Gen Z Spitfire.
Oh.
Spitfire. You're a full-time corporate girly, full-time content creator. Your social media content features your life as a woman wearing both hats. So you're showing your audience that you can balance both the corporate world with the creator universe. And you've been with Samsung, partnered with Nordstrom, Amazon, and Lexus. And you've been featured on different media sites such as LinkedIn, Business Insider. And also a big achievement that you did last year is that you bought a house, which is exactly the apartment that we are sitting in today. So welcome on the show, Angelica.
I'm so excited to be here. Okay, I just have one small minor fact check of that statement.
Yeah.
I am 25, not 24, which
Oh,
I
you're
mean, like,
25.
we could pretend I'm 24, and that's totally okay.
Okay, no, I'll say 20. Well, we'll switch that for sure.
Okay, but
Wait,
I mean,
did you turn 25 recently, or?
I like December, so like maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And like I'm like
Maybe
a
you're
Christmas birthday, like so everyone forgets, so it's okay.
Do you feel like it was turning 25 has become kind of a revelatory year for you? Because I'm about to turn 25 in July, so I want to know what's it like.
I'm gonna be honest. As like the first daughter, first child, I feel like every moment of your life is revolutionary, and like I don't necessarily feel at any point in time like, okay, like this is when it starts to get serious, like, or like this is. I kind of just feel that at every moment of my life. I think that's just my personality of like very type 3 Enneagram Capricorn, first daughter child. Like,
Is type 3 the overachiever? Oh, that's
Yes.
my wing.
yeah.
Yeah.
What are you? A 2?
A 1, that's the
Got it.
perfectionist.
So yeah, I'm like very like I think I've just always been 30 steps ahead. So exact milestones like don't really have that impact. What about you?
When I turn 25?
Or like any big birthday, like 21 or 18.
I mean, yeah, no, I guess not really. Well, because I spent a lot of my birthdays back in Taipei, and there were 3 consecutive birthdays during 3 consecutive years where they were all happened to be during a typhoon. So I just stayed at home, and they were also during COVID as well. So I just like spent my birthday with my family and had cake at home. So it hasn't been that exciting. But my birthday last year, I took 7 of my friends to my favorite workout class on Melrose called P-Volve. And I talk
my
about
gosh,
this way too many
fun.
times on the podcast, but it's functional movement. It's a low impact. It's
I've
all
always
about
wanted to
strengthening
go.
the pelvic floor. You've heard, I'm sure
It's
you've
very
heard about it.
influencer of you to be like P-ball. I've heard every like.
Yeah, and I even worked there for 3 months. I was like the shortest lived
Oh
employee
my gosh,
there.
you got hella benefits then. You got some free classes.
I definitely got some free
Good,
classes.
good.
Yeah.
I always tell friends who, I mean, they have full-time jobs, but I'm like, you should just go work part-time at your favorite like workout studio because you get benefits, like a free class or like class exchange that you can just like wipe down mats after, and then you get like 2 classes for free after.
That's what I did. I definitely
Hack.
the shift work was not super fun. You know, I had to wake up at 4 and then do the shift from like 5 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Or
or
like people going at like
because
6
people
a.m.
want to take a workout class at 6 a.m. I'm just like,
Damn.
whew, that's really early. But yeah, and there'd be night shifts from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, this sounds intense.
So like if we gift wrapped the job experience, it's like the free classes are fun, but after a couple weeks in, you're just like, oh wow, shift work. People who do shift work, I salute you. I salute you.
Unsung heroes.
We were talking about how you're such an overachiever, and we're going to talk about how you're an overachiever through and through.
So self-centered.
But that's true. I mean, it's rare to find someone who has both feet in corporate and content, because usually people are, I see the arc where people work in corporate and then they transition to full-time creator because they're able to sustain with all of that income. That's the trajectory that I see for so many cases of influencers.
I'm trying to convince people not to do that.
Really? Okay, so we have to get into that, because you still have your both feet in the world and in two worlds, and you love being in two worlds as well. And I don't assume that you're going to be making any choices soon where you have to pick one over the other, but I'd love to know, instead of asking the question, it's like, how is it like being a person who does all these different things? You know, it's like, how's it like being an overachiever?
Both?
Yeah. How do you do both? But
how are you a mom and also like?
I think you've definitely been asked that question a lot of times. Yeah. But if I were to rephrase it and to maybe pose a question that could provide a bit more color into you as an individual, can you tell me of perhaps a specific incident in your childhood where it was clear that you demonstrated your grit for doing things and excelling at things simultaneously?
I'm so glad you asked. And I have a lot of friends who I've known since I was like 5 years old, because I went to the same elementary school, junior high, high school, and like, you know, all the GATE kids and honor students, like they all just kind of like, we're all in the same classes for like 12 years together.
You grew up in Orange County, right?
I did, which was a very academically competitive area. Like my school was like 70% Korean people, not even Asian people. It's like all just Korean Americans or Koreans. I also grew up as a competitive figure skater at like an elite level of training. So I think I've always had a lot, like it's a solo sport. So you need to find a lot of self-discipline and self-drive. And so I think that really built that muscle of like, okay, this is something I want to do. I am going to work towards it. And I started when I was 8. I would skate like before school, like as an elementary student or a junior high student. Like,
and when did school start?
Like 7:30, where I had 0 period or whatever, right? 8. I forgot even how early 7 period is, like 7. So I would skate before. I'll do a 5 a.m. session. And
you're in like elementary school.
Yeah, elementary school, junior high. And then I would come back to school because I was like obviously I didn't want to like drop out of school or be a homeschool kid. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just like that's just not the life that I wanted for myself. And then I would go to school, and then after school I would train for another like 3-4 hours, do off ice training, and then come home, do homework, live my life, do other things, and then go to bed. And it kind of just recycled. So I've always very much been like that girl that kind of did everything and too much, and probably at the brink of exhaustion and burnout at all times. But like I love that and that totally fuels me. And like even in high school I was still skating, but I was definitely like weaning it down more, because the path to like an elite figure skater is there's only one gold medalist every 4 years, right? So obviously like, you know, I was doing well, but like that just didn't seem like the path that was going to be most likely for me. And it was time for college apps and like getting serious. So then I was still skating, but I was doing more like professional theater stuff with skating, like performance-based theater skating, theater on ice. And of course for that, #college apps, you know, but also keep my joy for skating alive. But I was also a full IB AP student, right? I did the IB program.
I could not do the IB program.
I also was like on the newspaper. Like I was also part of my arts department at school. Like I was just like, I love that though. Like I love finding the satisfaction and joy and being able to do a lot of things that I like, and at a level that is good, because I push myself because I guess some people want to just be like, some things are just hobbies, but these are things I cared about and I wanted to be good at and work towards. So I've always just been that girl. And even in college, I did pre-med. I finished out pre-med and I did business.
Yeah.
So like, when people are like, oh my gosh, like you have a full-time job and you do content, it's like people who know me is like not that surprised, because it's like,
because you've always kind of lived a double life growing up.
Double life at the minimum. Like I've always just like loved so much. If anything, my parents were like, we gotta like have you like pick some things because you just like so many things. So I just really enjoy doing what I love. if that's multiple things, then that's multiple things.
Did figure skating come to you naturally, or was it a parent thing? Like, you need to do something as a hobby outside school?
No, my parents are super non-traditional Asian parents. Like, never pushed me. Like, no, they were super supportive. Like, they don't care if I got a B or a C. Like, they just wanted the best from me, which almost pushed myself 10 times more, because it's like I'm pushing myself and like the pressures of like on what a normal parent would be. So I did do well, and I did get good grades, and I did excel at a lot of things because I just found that pressure in myself. So it's completely different from my friends who had parents who were yelling at them and pressuring them. But it's like, imagine you have like the most loving, supportive parents, and they don't even care. They like just want you to just do your best. So like if you're like, oh, then I really need to do well, because like they're trusting me and they're so lovely. So that's kind of how I built this muscle to like push myself, because like my parents were so hands off. And I think it's only been a benefit to me, because I have so many friends now whose their parents have pushed them all their life, and now they're like 25, 26, 27. They're kind of just like, I don't know what I want in my life anymore, because like they never really pushed themselves / like made a choice for what they wanted to work towards. But for me, like that's not been a problem, because like I've always done that. So yeah, that's like a very long story, and I go on tangents a lot, but it hopefully gives a little bit more color on just kind of like my approach to life and my passions and what I like to do.
I want to talk more about your Orange County upbringing, because I went to college there. I went to Chapman.
Oh, fun.
So I was there for, I want to say 4 years, but it was technically more like 3 years because COVID cut off a year for me. But I look back at my Orange County times really fondly.
Good.
Because I loved the college experience of being in a more suburban area while having close proximity to LA, which is a metropolis.
Yeah, and the beach and the weather, I'm sure it was like, that's a cute area to go to college.
Oh, it's and I was like 10 minutes away from Disney.
Yeah.
I'd get the
Did you get
annual
Disneyland pass? Of
I'd
course
have
you
the
did. Oh my
SoCal
gosh.
annual pass.
And that's the thing is, I think people need to realize like we're not Disney adults.
No,
but
we're
if you
not.
if you grew up in Orange County, it's like a different, and you went to college, so it's different. But like everybody at my school, like senior year, junior year, they all got the pass, because like after school we would just like dick around and go to Disneyland, or go at night.
Yeah.
Go watch the fireworks.
Yeah.
This is my flex.
Every
okay?
time, like Friday, my computer science class ended at 1 p.m., we would all share an Uber and go to Disney. You can get like 20,000 steps in.
Oh my gosh,
waiting
hot
in
girl
line.
walk.
Exactly.
I like never walk the way I walk when I'm at Disneyland.
Yeah.
My steps are like 30,000.
And there's like 2 parks too.
Yes.
So you just like multiply your steps. But yeah, I used to.
And if you're
I'd go
Asian,
back
you're
and
like,
go at
I need
night.
to maximize. We're going at rope
Exactly.
drop at 8
Exactly.
a.m. And
That's
we're
what-
staying until they kick us out.
That's what my parents did. So my family, for orientation before I started my time at Chapman, we skipped a couple of days because my parents were like, we're not going to orientation. We're going to Disneyland. I was like,
Yeah.
I agree. And so one day we went to Disney. The other day we went to Universal Studios. So we drove up to LA. But
Disneyland
for
is way
Disney,
better, right?
when the storytelling is
It's
way better.
Okay, yeah.
So I agree.
They got to work
But-
on that at Universal.
But the parks open at 9 a.m., I believe, at Disney. And when my family and I, we were walking when the parks were about to open, my mom just kept commenting like, oh, look at all these idiots walking so slowly. We have to get them before 9 a.m.
Your mom is me. When I go with my friends, literally to this day, I'm like speed walking. Like I'm on sport mode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we gotta go. And I'm like, come on, guys. And I'm like, we gotta get to the front of the line for Space Mountain. Like there is a priority ranking of rides you have to get there, get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember that day we went on like 16 rides, which we had one day only. So we were going to milk our ticket for sure. But once I had the pass, I'd go on like, it's okay to maybe go on like 3 to 4 rides and then maybe watch the fireworks if we had energy. But I was a tour guide at school, and so I would tell everyone who was on my tour that the fireworks happen at 9:30, I believe. But every night at 9:30, if you sit at one exact spot on campus, you could literally see the fireworks like a few blocks down.
God. You know what's crazy is from where I lived, from like kindergarten to senior year of high school, you could hear the fireworks every night. I could see it every night from my home. Like if we just drove like just to our like neighborhood hill, You could see it in Fullerton. It's a city over.
Yeah.
So you could see it all.
I learned that Disney has to pay a fine every time they put up
Every
the
night.
Yeah. So they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, we're not Disney adults, so we're going to transition.
But you love OC. Yeah, I loved growing up.
do.
It was obviously like growing up, you have a different POV of like, it was definitely like small town energy, but the comfort, the food, the people, like I really enjoyed it. I did know I like wanted to like be a city girl afterwards.
After grad, you were both on the med school track and the business track. Well, because I saw on your blog. So I read your blog.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is
my
many years
blog
ago.
is really old.
Yes,
Please
very
do.
old.
But I keep the domain because I'm like, I want that URL.
But the thing is, I remember on your blog you wrote that you are a toxicology student. Is that under the med school track?
Yeah, so pre-med is just a bunch of classes you have to take. It's not really a major. So I was a toxicology minor. I was one class away from the major, which was like still irks to me to this day. I didn't have time to do it. But I did the business program, so I got my business admin degree, and then I got a minor in toxicology. But the minor alone got me all the pre-med recs. So the pre-med is just like X amount of classes. It's like specific classes, but you can be an English major and be pre-med. Yeah, and in an alternative life, like I could totally see myself. I would have loved to have been a physician or something.
Yeah, you have such a growth mindset. Yeah. I mean, that's
What I am is a loser is really what it is.
But okay, that's the thing about what really attracts me about going back to school is that just you're at a time where I feel like everything is moving so fast in the world, and like we have so many of these young 20-something-year-olds who are so multifaceted, and that just makes me think, oh, I need to grow in my own skill sets as well.
What would you want to go back for?
I mean, something more. So I went to film school. So I think I have a pretty robust background in storytelling and filming and editing, but everyone does that now. And it's
You're
just
like,
so
everyone does that on CapCut.
And then I'm like, and I have a degree in this, and I'm like,
And you're like, and for what?
A private film school degree.
And Chapman Film is a very good film school.
Yeah.
And you're like, now everybody's doing the same thing I'm doing on CapCut.
Yeah, literally.
And it looks good too.
And that's exactly. Honestly, with like,
No, yours is better. It's
so
different.
I mean, yeah. How do I encapsulate what I'm trying to say is that there's just so much competition in the creator space or in the storytelling space that I think for me, if I wanted to get an extra edge from my competitors, I also need to know how to master data and how to master content strategy and just opening up the more analytical side of my brain. And
Sounds like you want a job in marketing, girl.
I mean, that's what
That's
I've been
what
trying
it's
to
sounding
do.
like.
I mean, honestly, I think it'd be really interesting, and I've been trying to get more opportunities in that. But yeah, I think I'd probably go back to school for that. And sometimes
The creative
people are
space
like,
is hard because there's
It
like
is.
so many talented creative people, right, in this world. And opportunities are limited for creative people, I feel like, in the sense of like there's only so many spots, but everybody's so creative. And especially like what you said, the barrier to entry is so low now in the sense of like everyone can edit, anyone could film. And so it's been amazing for the sense of it's opened up a whole world. But you're right, like I'm sure you're finding it like, oh, like what makes me different, or like what can I do different? But
exactly.
what makes you different is like what you've learned and like your brain and your experiences, and that's how you storytell, which is different from anyone else who, you know, can do it on their phones.
Yeah, I think also something that I want to reveal to the audience is that I think I've always been very put off by going back to school because I felt like I didn't need that. But honestly, I'm a bit more open to the opportunity right now because I really do miss the feeling of being in an academic environment. And I think if I were to go back to grad school, it's not about the classes, it's more about the networking. So anyway, that's something that I've been thinking about.
Silly little plot.
I don't know.
And I might go to med school. Like we just don't know what could happen here.
A year later, you might see us back at school. Okay, you talked about landing your Google internship. And when I was doing some preliminary research, I heard that it sounds amazing that you landed that opportunity, but one cannot ignore all of the rejections that came before that.
Totally.
And I remember on that one podcast where you were on the podcast with TK, you said the quote you live by is like, rejection is redirection.
Yes.
And so applying to your process of landing that Google internship, kind of walk through what happened prior and the feeling of finally making it to really the creme de la creme of an opportunity?
Yeah, so I totally stand out by that statement, and especially these these high school seniors are getting these rejection letters. Like, trust me, like something better and bigger is happening for you. Same thing with people applying to jobs.
Yeah.
When I was at Berkeley, like every single person literally had an internship since the womb.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh.
And I'm not talking some like dinky internship, okay? I'm talking about like they got like legit stuff. And to how legit or not legit is like besides the point, but I just like obviously felt so behind, and so I was so panicky and stressed. I didn't have an internship my sophomore summer because I was studying abroad doing physics, which is part of the pre-med thing. So most people at Berkeley have an internship their freshman summer.
At like a management or consulting
Yeah,
place.
especially at the business pathway, they definitely do. And because I was business pre-med, obviously most of my community and classmates were business kids, right?
Yeah.
I did pre-med, but like for pre-med, I was kind of just like popping in and out, and I wasn't like in the community. And Berkeley is so big in that sense, but the business community is a lot smaller because you have to apply to get into the school, similar to probably like Chapman's film program.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was applying. I would get like interviews. Most places I never even got responses. I would go to a few like super days, and super days are basically like for investment banking or consulting where you just interview all day. And then most times you do kind of find out on the spot if you got it or you didn't. I don't think I ever talked about it, but I was getting rejected a lot and I didn't hear back. And then I did actually land this internship at a marketing consulting company that was super cool, amazing. You know, I felt validated.
Yep.
But a week later, I got the email for my Google internship interview. So, which is like, I never even thought was possible. So I don't recommend this. I signed the marketing consulting offer because they give you a deadline.
Yeah.
It's like an expiring offer.
Yeah.
I signed it, and then I did my Google internship interview. I found out I got the Google internship, so that I had signed an offer, and then I told them, unfortunately, I will not be taking the offer. I just said that I just like, it wasn't some like career-wise, it wasn't something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Which is valid. I didn't want to go into consulting. I mean, I just kind of did it because like everybody was doing it.
Was it a product marketing?
Yeah, it was
program?
it was the APMM program, which is Associate Product Marketing Manager program. I think it's like one of the coolest programs out there. I know it's very competitive to get into. I don't know if it was luck, timing, maybe my application was just good enough and my interview was good enough. Well, I know it was because I got the return offer.
Yeah.
We're going to be less self-deprecating about this.
Yes.
And at the end of the internship, you do a return offer interview. I did the interview. I waited a month. My senior year started at home. Then pretty much in September, I got the call that I got the return offer to come back after my senior year. So I like...
Wow, so you already had a job offered like at this first semester.
So that is like the push that you should have yourself.
Yeah.
The good thing about a junior year internship is that you can convert it early on, so you don't have to worry about job security. But most people don't get junior year internships. Like, it's common, but most people in America don't. They just land their job after college, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
So I just don't want people to stress out if they can't get a junior year internship.
Yeah. Oh, also, I totally didn't mention this, but you work at YouTube.
Yes.
So that's your corporate job.
Yes, and YouTube is under Google.
Under Google,
Yes.
yeah. So that's why you got the return offer, and then
Yes,
you were
yes,
placed
yes.
in YouTube Shorts.
I was originally posted at YouTube Shorts doing growth marketing. Then I got moved to go to marketing, and I did that for a year, and it was great, amazing. Had the best manager ever. Shout out to Brett if you're watching this. And then I got moved to the influencer marketing team. I also have an amazing manager now. It kind of all worked out, but like I always say, even in corporate, and this is like a rotational program, so I didn't choose YouTube. The system chose to place me at YouTube. But I'm sure they looked at my resume, and like I did mention, I was like, I had like at the time a very small social media presence and my passions about it. So I think it kind of all worked out. And I always say, like, at work, you need to be the squeaky wheel. If you want a job, if you want a position, if you want to be on a project, you need to vocalize it, because like no one's going to do that for you.
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed.
They don't get fed, and people are always, especially even at work, people in my same program, the APMM program, majority of these people are not on the sexiest, coolest projects, right? Some of them are, some of them aren't. But somehow I've been able to like make sure I'm on projects that are important to me, because I made it very clear I wanted to be on. Like, not only did I raise my hand, I was very proactive in putting together like I would do the work first. If I was that passionate about, I wanted to be involved in something. So making the connections with the right executives and the directors and the vice presidents to like, you got to sell yourself and be like, this is why I would be an asset to you on this project and why I want to be here. And like, don't be afraid to like, just like build the career that you want and do the stuff you want.
Yeah.
And they say no, they say no.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, I think your YouTube and your content creation journey helped a lot in terms of being a standout candidate for Google. When you wrote in your resume, it's like, yeah, I do social media and content creation. That definitely caught their eye, I'm sure.
It was super small, but it was like one line. I had maybe
and that was the most important part.
I don't know. I like it said I had like, I don't even think I had 10,000 subscribers at the time. I think I literally just had like one kind of like viral YouTube video. I had like 100,000 views. So I literally put like total 100,000 channel views. Like it wasn't even from one video. It was like what is it, accumulated. So I don't know if that was a standout or not, but it was something to talk about for sure.
And they're like, oh, you're using our product, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I scrolled all the way down to your first ever TikTok video, and
it was way.
It was the Roxanne
that
dance challenge.
Forever?
It took a long time. You posted a lot on TikTok.
I've been pumping out that content. People are like, when is it going to pop off? Like they're starting off. Girl, I posted a lot. It's going to take a
long time. Yeah, your first TikTok was posted in 2019. It was the Roxanne dance challenge with your brother.
Yeah.
Yes. Your first Instagram reel was a Yes Style try-on haul in 2020. And so I think a lot of people
remember that one actually.
And so I think a lot of people, when they're starting off in their content creation journey, you kind of just like throw everything at the wall and
that's
see
what I
what
did.
Sticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I think what I saw as a pattern a few months later for TikTok, your content started to have a more clear through line, and it was about college advice.
Yes.
So can you tell me how you decided on that niche?
Whatever. Yeah. What do you guys want to say? So I was like really early on TikTok with my brother because it was just something fun we did during Thanksgiving break. Roxanne, it was like super fun, wholesome. Oh, I missed season 1 TikTok. And I kind of just made a bunch of different videos, different niches. And I've always wanted to be a content creator. And I also like, I was that girl in high school and junior high that would always vlog. Like it's really not a surprise to people that I ended up becoming a creator. And I threw out different things. And then I think like my first like video about like internship tips like really popped off. So I just kind of fed the thing that kept working. And I also noticed that just in general of social media, there is, and I still think this, there is a gap of content about creators talking about college or career, because most creators, when they get to a certain level, they either don't go to college or they drop out, or even if they finish college, they just have their content job, right? And there's no shade, no tea about that at all. But me as a like high school student, like I loved watching like college vlogs. Like I wanted to romanticize.
Vlogs, that definitely
of course,
helped me a
like
lot.
that like gave me like a will to study,
Yeah.
to like have my little silly little dorm once I'm in college. Like, you know, people love to watch like romantic ideas about what's it like being an influencer, living in New York and being crazy life, right? But like for me as a high school student, like I found so much motivation and joy in watching college vlogs and like study vlog, because I was like it's like very romantic, and not to say it's all sunshine and roses, but like, yeah, you know what, if we are going to be romanticizing anything, let's romanticize like this then.
Yeah.
Because this is important, right? And I still am such a firm believer that college is important. I don't think it's for everyone, but for those who can and I think it's the right fit for them, of course I encourage it. So I noticed that there was a gap in the market for that type of content.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, then I'm going to be the creator that I've always wanted to be. And I made hella college advice type videos, and even just advice that is like, I feel like
Bless you.
allergy season, girl. Even my school, because we are quote unquote a very competitive professional school, like people don't know, if you want to be an investment banker, you need to be for your junior summer, you have to look like your freshman summer. A lot of the big banks, they interview 2 years in advance. And guess what? You would not know that unless you knew that. And so like if go to school in the middle of nowhere and you want to be an investment banker and you decide like your sophomore summer, it's like kind of late to get an internship, because like the junior class is already locked in from the previous summer. It's like dumb things like that, like that you only learn when you're in a school that is so career focused like Berkeley. So I just like wanted to share that knowledge with people.
Yeah. You're a gate opener.
I was a
That's what you
gate opener.
said. You're
Yes,
not a
I was a
gatekeeper.
gate opener very early on.
Yeah.
Now all these influencers like, I'm not a gatekeeper, and I'm like, I haven't been a gatekeeper from the start, guys. So yeah, I did that and it really worked and like people loved it. And this was also during a time where like the tips on screen type content were like the thing, right? So I was dancing, looking like a fool, but like I mean I had so much fun and it was like that was the norm back then. It was like the dancing, the pointing, the tips, like that, you know, like that was the era and you had to have been there. Obviously, as I graduated college, I post a little less about college now, but now that it's admission season, I think this is like actually a great time for me to make content about my college experience again and what it's like being rejected. And then now I post about being a new grad, which obviously like I guess my channel and content's kind of in that transition phase of like now being corporate girly content.
Yeah.
So finding that balance between like, okay, how many career tips can I actually give? Because it's not like I'm like 40 years into my career. I could only really give like new grad, early, first gen type career tips, which obviously is very valuable for a certain community as well, and just something I wish I had and something I'd love to talk about and share. But it's just not the same as like college tips as well. And of course, there's an element that I miss that too, but that's just not where I am in my stage of my life.
Yeah.
And now it's more just like everything about being a corporate girly and what that contains, right? So whether that's like getting ready or wellness or mental health or career tips, how to get promoted, like that's just where I've put my content. And I think now I'm just like that corporate lifestyle girly.
Yeah. The thing that a lot of people struggle with when they are trying to establish a stronger voice in the content space is that they need to be seen as a poster child for something. And I think when a lot of people have been following you for the past couple of years, it's like, oh yeah, this is Angelica Song is the type of person where I'd be getting corporate or educational
Right, like
content.
I know she works. I know she lives in LA. Like,
yeah,
it's
And I think that's the issue that I find with a lot of quote unquote creators that I meet. I mean, it's like I'll be at an event and I love just talking to people and hearing more about their backgrounds, but I'll see and talk to a couple of influencers and I'll ask them, it's like, what do you do for your
kind of
brand?
content?
Yeah. What kind of content do you do? It's like, what makes your content distinct, unique? And
it's kind of the
many
same.
times everyone's like, oh, I just like taking photos. And I'm like, is this
I love that for you though.
what the creator economy has gone to?
And for a lot of people that works, especially like
I think that's just so unfair.
Yeah, for non-POC people that works.
Yeah, but we out here.
Yeah, as I feel like especially it's very clear. Think about the big white creators and think about the big Asian creators. Just look at the quality of the content difference. And that's all I have to say. And I'm not even saying it's one person's fault or another, but it's just like the quality of content diverse creators put out, I think. And not to say there aren't very, very talented, amazing white creators as well, because there are. And but if you have to pick 10 and 10
really good creators.
I don't need to spell it out. It's very clear.
Yeah.
And the views also are still way different, right? And I mean, I have different reasons and thought process why I think that is, but obviously Asian Americans are only 9% of the United States.
Yeah,
it's
which
a very,
is crazy.
Very small number of people, right? So people like to watch people that look like themselves, first of all, right? Even if the entire whole 9% watched every single one of your content, which they don't, obviously, right? The pie is so much smaller.
Okay, your personal opinion, and I guess working at YouTube too, do you think long form will still be here to stay? Because in my core, I'm such a long form person. I love the interviews, I love the podcast stuff. It's long form, but I think in our age of short attention spans, everyone just wants something that's just very quick to consume. Everyone just wants the vertical shorts, but I'm like, but I'm such a long form girly. I'm like a documentary girly, and I find it difficult to be in a world where everyone's like short form, you know?
I think, and this is not like any official like work POV, is my personal POV, but there will always be room for long form content in this world. Because I mean, think about TV shows, movies, like connection, and the beauty of short form content is that it has lowered the barrier for so many people to get their story out there. But what I like to say with short form content is it's very content first, right? You don't really know who the username a lot of times is. It's just entertaining content. And so many people are like, I'm on my TikTok or Instagram Reels, but I can't name like 3 creators. I can tell you their content if I see it in their face, but I can't tell you their name. I can't tell you where really they live or what they do, like, you know, whatever. But with long form, people who grew up watching long form and they still watch long form these days, they know so much and they are so much more invested in these creators and their lives. And I think why it's becoming harder to consume long form content is not necessarily because of the content is bad. I think it's just because our time is just getting more chopped up and distracted with other things. And it's not just social media. It's whether it's the news or whether it's whatever. Like, I think we have so much more access to like everything going on at once that like our time has just gotten chopped up. That's kind of my POV, but I also too, like, I love long form. However, I'm also very picky about my long form. Yeah, like there are creators I'll like watch, but I love to watch like late night TV shows. So like all the talk show hosts, they always post on YouTube, right? So like that's kind of what I always watch, my long form, because I just like love celebrity culture. Like I feel like celebrity culture type videos, like you watch long form, right? You watch the Harper's Bazaar Vogue interview, you watch the hot ones. That's like, even if you see a clip of it, I feel like people leave and go watch the long video. So I feel like creating more moments like that, giving people to leave short form and come. I think there's going to be a dance about it, you know?
You know, that's the thing that I struggle with, because that's my strategy. Post the shorter reels so that people are intrigued by it and want to listen, for example, to a happy hour interview. But I think it's just tough. I think with the podcast space and as an independent podcast, it is hard to grow an audience. And especially there's just like so much competition with so many reels coming up. I think that's just
everyone has a freaking mic.
Yeah, everyone has a podcast now.
And honestly, some people really shouldn't. I'm just kidding. Especially all the men.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think
I love men.
Because I think I come from such a long form background, is that I just have trouble figuring out like figuring out what makes a high value content for happy hour, the podcast. And it's just been hard. I think there's also a trend where everyone's engagement is like kind of going down. Like the view count is kind of going down across Instagram, like, TikTok.
Yeah, my views are down. But it's okay.
And I think it's just like, how do we... I find it hard to combat that. I'm trying to retain my listeners, which I'm so grateful for. And I have a really... Are you
on Spotify?
On like every single thing. But to grow the audience has been a challenge, you know? And so I just think
it's
the shorts
hard.
Is really the way to get there. But even I'm struggling to try to grow my audience through posting a short.
You kind of need to do everything and everywhere at all at once these days, which is like the most exhausting and difficult part of it, but can be fulfilling if you enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I think consistency is like already half the battle, but
yeah.
What do you think would be like a high value video? The thing that I have with the pod is that I do a lot of episode highlights, but I think I need to also expand my content pillars, which I've been trying to do. But once again, it's like, oh, I don't feel like doing it. And then the creative high just passes. But I just have trouble thinking.
I feel like what I always tell people is like maybe repeatable formats. So like, for example, like for me, that'd be like a day in my life, right? Like, but like what's a segment on your show that you can do that people will just recognize it for that if they just see clips of it? So it's like, is it 5 like speed round questions? But like what's a repeatable format you could do with every guest on every episode? And you just like drill it into that's like very marketing 101.
True.
But like what is figure what that is, and I think that could be really interesting to build. That way it's very clear. Like every episode you're going to post that little segment.
I think you planted a seed in my head.
Figure out what about that question itself, like how could you make it about the other, like the person watching.
I'll need to
sit on that one.
But I think that's a really good advice for everyone too. Okay, let's talk about home ownership.
Yes.
So you bought a house at 24.
24.
Okay. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom.
2 bed bath.
First of all, like that is such an incredible achievement to do something at this age. When did you start thinking that I want to be a homeowner? Yeah.
So when I moved to LA and I was renting apartment, and obviously rent in LA is expensive, and because I live by myself, like I definitely prioritize safety and a good neighborhood. With that comes with the price. And I was like, honestly, this is like a little bit more I could pay for a mortgage, right? So with all my influencer money.
Oh, so you bought the house based on your influencer money?
Yeah, it's not my tech salary at all, actually.
Wow.
So not to say I didn't spend money on like, treat myself, but I would say my social media stuff, I started really in 2020 is like when like my views started to pick up. I had like 20K. I made, a little bit of money, like nothing crazy. I don't know, maybe like $20,000 that year with sponsorships. It was like my first time. This is when like nobody even knew how to monetize TikTok. Like I was just doing it by myself. Like it was like, we just didn't know. And then the following year, in 2021, like my first full year being a creator, I made more than 6 figures. And then after that, I signed a manager. Not my current one, my previous one, who's, we parted ways for some reasons, but it's all good. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to save all this money. I lived at home because of the pandemic. So like when I graduated, I lived at home for like a year and a half because it was still COVID and nobody was like working in the office yet. I honestly saved a lot of that money. I just kept growing and making content and loving it. And obviously the brand deals do pay very well. So I just saved like a saving queen.
Yeah.
And once I moved to LA, obviously I got to save a lot less money because my rent was, I don't know, like $2,800 a month.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Which is, I work at as a new grad in tech, I make very good money. I'm very lucky. But that was half my paycheck still. Because after like 401k and you max it out, like my paycheck is a lot smaller. $2,800 was more than one of my paychecks, right? Because you get 2 paychecks a month. Which is, you're not supposed to do that. Like, the whole like 20%, 30%. But in LA and New York, those rules kind of just go out the window.
Yeah.
So my like car payment and my savings, it all came from my influencer stuff. I just #hustled grind. It was hard sometimes when I have a lot of creator friends who would buy the nice bags and like buy the, like, not to say I didn't buy nice bags too, but it would be a regular thing. They would always treat themselves and like kind of live a life of luxury, and I love that for them.
But you had some long-term
but
goals.
I had to keep my head down and not to be like, oh my god, I'm such a pick me, but I just was so motivated. I was like, Angelica, keep your head down. But it was to the point where like I think at sometimes my content suffered a little bit in the sense of I couldn't really do fashion videos because I wore the same shit all the time. And if you want to get fashion brand deals or fashion gifting or become a fashion girly or like
you have to look the part.
You have to kind of like have different clothes, girl, or like
right.
You know what I mean? And even if that means buying it and returning it, whatever, or thrifting it or whatever. But like I just like didn't even have like the sanity to like even do that. Like so I wasn't the cool girl with the cutest clothes, but I was making content about being a corporate girly and working with those types of brands and just keeping my head down and not spending money anything more than like what I needed to. And of course, like I went on trips and stuff, but I was pretty good about saving money and then saved up enough for a down payment on a home.
How many houses did you look at?
I would say around like 10, but I kind of got discouraged because it was just like, it's hard because like I needed a place with good natural lighting. It had to be in a nice, safe area.
Yeah.
It had to be under my price budget, which like you really can't have all three. But and it had to be close to my work. But I also like wanted to be, parking space has to be dedicated because I'm a girl who I can't, it could be dangerous if I park on the street at night, if there was not a dedicated spot in my building, right? It's all these things that would go into my brain.
And what's surprising is I love going on Redfin with my mom. It's so surprising how so many apartments in LA have such a high HOA fee and they're like shared laundry and you don't have washer dryer and unit. No. I'm like, why would I want to buy that? And it's $800,000.
Yes. And this one has in unit laundry. That's like one of my, I was like, I barely do laundry as it is. I need it to be in my place or nothing, it will get done, right?
Yeah.
So I saved up a bunch of money and then I looked at places and then I was kind of discouraged and I stopped 2023. And then this place opened up where we are right now. I would always pass by this building and be like, oh, I would love to live here, but there was never a unit open, and if there was, it wasn't in the price range that I wanted. Like it was like a 3-bedroom or something, like it just wasn't right. And this opened, and then literally it was like 4th of July weekend. I put in an offer the Monday, we were in negotiation, and then we put our final offer in, they accepted it, and then we went into escrow, and then there was like a little bit of drama with the banks. Don't trust the big banks. And then I like, people like, I made one post about it. The reason why I don't do too much house content is because I get scared that people won't think it's relatable, because
I get you.
Like, what 24-year-old in LA buys a 2-bed 2-bath by herself? Like, I was a full financial aid kid as a student in college. My parents have not given me a single lick of dime dollar for this place. Or I mean, of course they've given me their time. They painted this, they showed up in other ways that are very important, but financially, like, I'm really proud to say I did this 100% by myself. And so I'm just like, also know the climate that we live in. I was like, I just don't know if this is relatable, and I do want to talk about it more because I want to be proud of it and show people you can do it. But that's kind of why I never talked about it too much, because I was always afraid it was gonna like come off as like really out of touch. But I'm really proud. It's like all those moments of where I wish I had cuter clothes or a nicer bag, like nothing is as fulfilling as like coming into your own place that you bought. And it's like a daily physical reminder of my hard work, and it was all worth it in the end.
That's amazing. Did you already have like a bit of literacy for real estate, or was it more of a learn as you go situation?
So my parents are very familiar with this like buying process, and like we moved out of Orange County. They live in Austin, Texas now. And so they moved recently. They have a few homes out there. Obviously, the cost of living in Texas is a little different and cheaper than Orange County. And my dad is also a mortgage lender. So he's very familiar with like the real estate market and loans and property. And my parents that's always been like a passion of theirs, is like they would always go looking at homes for fun. And
I mean,
like,
Asians are just so good at that, investing in property.
Yeah, that's like their thing. So yeah, I was really lucky that that's such a priceless privilege that I had, was my parents, who were very involved, very literate in the process. All the confusing stuff, like my parents helped me out. And like, even though financially they didn't, like that is so much more, like they told me what to negotiate for, or like they, you know, I just kind of signed where they told me to sign, you know. But I wrote the wire transfer check over, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just a 24-year-old girl.
Yeah.
A lot of it wasn't scary because I had saved enough money. I just had to make the decision.
Yeah. Buying a home at 24 is just something that it could come off as out of touch, like you were saying, with the content you were producing. However, I just think it's just like no one does this. No one does
I know.
This, and I think that's such a hook.
It's also like no one really has 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like everyone needs to know that. I mean, you are working like 2 full-time jobs.
I think a lot of people, even creators, when they meet me, I think they think my content is a silly little hobby because I still have my day job. But little do they know, like, my content
it could be full-time.
It's like, it pays like 3-4 times my tech salary.
Yeah.
Which like people like sometimes, like, I think some influencers when I first meet them, like, almost don't take me that serious because they're like, well, I still have a day job. Sometimes I definitely get like strong creator judgy vibes from other creators who are full-time, who are like, well, you still have a full-time job. And I'm like, but in my heart of hearts, I'm like, but I know I'm definitely making more content creator salary than you. But they just kind of look down upon you a little bit if you're still...
That's so interesting.
Not down, but it's more just like, oh, she's just like doesn't make enough.
Yeah, that's why she needs a full-time job.
But I think that's a common assumption people could have, because most people do content on the side until it out earns their day job, or like some people even just make that jump even without it being right. But I just don't, and I want to encourage people that you don't need to, and you can always scale down your day job. You can be a freelancer, but like you just never know what's going to happen with content. And like the influencers we followed like 4 years ago is like so different than the influencers we follow today, and it's always changing. And so it's all about being smart as much as you can. So I just try to encourage people to just not just like blindly, like for a quick few views and a quick few hits, to like throw away probably a career they also work for too. And it's different if you hated it and you were miserable and it was unsafe emotionally. Now that's a different story, and you could always obviously find a different job. But I just really want to encourage people that like you could be a nurse influencer, like my friend Mickey. She's a nurse. She's an influencer. Real estate influencers, right? Like that's what Selling Sunset is entirely built off of. And you see the doctor influencers, the dermatology influencers, and so you can have both. And obviously it's not for everybody. It definitely takes a certain type of person to want to do both and can balance both. But if you can, then I think your content is going to be that much better. It's going to be that much different, and you're also going to just appreciate doing content so much more. Versus if it becomes your everything, it can get, I have most of my creator friends are all full-time creators, and their relationship with content is a lot different than my relationship with content, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking of having a really rigorous schedule, how does health and wellness fall into this, and how do you attempt to prioritize those facets in your life?
I try my best. My day job in tech is pretty busy. Like there are many times where I'm working very late, like past midnight, especially when it's like a campaign launch. Some people are really lucky. They're on different tech teams that are a little slower or not as intensive, better work-life balance. But I work at YouTube, so it's a little bit more fast-paced than any other org at Google, in my opinion. And I work on campaigns, so when it gets really busy, it gets really, really busy. And I have to always be on. But then when campaign is over, I get a little bit more free time. So it's definitely like this.
Yeah, peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys. And some people love that. Some people hate that, right? Some people rather just have like a very consistent clock in, clock out. I think for my lifestyle and being an influencer, it's actually worked out really well because when I'm off early, I can be off early and I can do my influencer stuff. But when I'm working late, then, maybe that week I'm just not going to post as much content anymore, right? So I try my best to, when I'm sensing myself getting burned out, obviously my day job is my first priority, right? Even though it is not my main
source of income,
it is my first priority because I'm not working for myself. I'm working for a company. So like they're paying my health insurance. They're writing me the check every 2 weeks. Like I got to make sure that is checkbox, right? So I prioritize doing a good job in that. And then when things get overwhelming, whether I just like not take a break from content, but just like it's not the end of the world if I don't post a video tomorrow,
Yeah.
The internet will always be there. I could always make content. I have very abundance mindset in that sense of like, even if all my followers decided to like leave me and hate me tomorrow, like because I just didn't post for a month, I believe in myself enough that like I can start over, And obviously having the day job helps with that abundance mindset, right? Because there's like, I'm still going to be able to pay my mortgage with my day job, right? But again, I think what really helps is like taking it day by day, not over planning things because you'll just be in your head all day. And then I really try my best to, as packed of a schedule I do have, prioritize making plans with friends, commitments, other things. I work out.
Are you a Pilates girlie?
I am a Pilates girl. And so that's a really important thing to me because I don't want to be that girl who's like tells people, oh, sorry, I can't, I'm filming. Sorry, I can't, I'm editing, right? Like, because I could always edit at night or I can always edit another time unless it's like a brand deal and things have to get done. But for the most part, I really try to make my life be my priority. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should focus a little more on content, but it comes in peaks and waves where you're like, I don't think true work-life balance is really possible. I think you just have to pick and choose at certain times of your life what is important and make it work.
That's the thing. I don't think balance can ever be achieved. Right. And I think a lot of like health coaches or like gurus are like, this is how you can achieve balance. But honestly, I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true. And I think I'll tell you what I give up. I give up my sleep. And I'm able to do that because I'm young and I have the energy to do so. So I love sleep and I am not a morning person, but guess what? Like just the way my life is, because I want a social life and I also want to do content and I also want to work in my day job, that means I'm just not going to get as much sleep as possible that I want during the week. But on the weekends, I'll try to catch up a little bit. But I'm still young in the sense of like, I can do this. I'm sure I might feel differently in like 5 years.
Yeah.
So...
But right now, it's what works for you.
It's working, and like if I think about it too much, then I don't want to think about it too much,
Okay, some final questions. So, you know what? I think something that I've been trying to do better at is that when I meet someone for the first time at an event, at a party, instead of asking, oh, so what do you do? I think I really want to try to ask them, what do you like to do outside of work? And so, what brings you joy?
I know this sounds really cheesy, but I just love spending time with my friends.
Yes.
It's such a joy for me. I mean, I'm chronically online, so talking with my friends about anything from Taylor Swift to different TV shows and movies. I'm a big Swiftie. It just sounds super kind of silly, but I just love my friends and spending time with my friends. And so my friends, if they want to go on a trip or we want to do dinner, like next week or next week, Taylor Swift's new album's coming out. We're all gathering at my place.
Oh, a new album is coming out?
Yeah, that girl never... I always think I work hard. Taylor Swift works so much harder than I do.
She's your role model.
Literally. So I'm like, I can't slack off. She's released like 6 albums in the pandemic and she's on a 3.5-hour tour and she's keep going. And she's like at the Super Bowl supporting her boyfriend. And I'm like, Angelica, you cannot complain. Like Taylor Swift is out here. I mean, obviously she has probably a huge team that supports her and probably gets a massage every night, which I mean, like, love that for her. But I love spending time with my family and my friends. I love going to the beach. We're like 10 minutes from the beach. So honestly, after we record today, I have to film an ad, but then I'll probably go to the beach or I might take a nap. I don't know. I just like, I I'm good about like vibing out. So
Yeah.
I'll watch TV and like
Go where the wind takes
go through it.
you.
Yeah, I can't.
Yes.
I live such a chaotic life that I can't think too deeply into things. You know.
Ah, I see. Okay, well, now
How about
that
you?
what do I like to do?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, the question's posed at me. I mean, I love hosting my Saturday Hot Girl Walks. That's the thing that, I mean, it brings together community. It's a very cost-effective way to hang out with people. You get your daily sunlight and
Your steps in.
yeah, you get your steps in. And now that the summer season is approaching, there's a trail that I do where there's a whole line of orange trees and we just get to pick from the orange
gosh,
trees.
where is
climb the trees.
this? Can you
It's in
reveal?
Studio City. You should go on a walk with me.
Ooh, I would love to do that.
But the oranges are so juicy.
And they're free.
Yeah, and there's lemons there too.
Oh my gosh, wait. Free fruit? I'm literally there. I'm not even kidding.
And so we'll walk and like eat the oranges, and it just like gets all over our fingers. But
my gosh.
that's when I mean, I love calling my family because they're in Taipei, so I do that every Saturday night. I love my P12 workouts. It's such like an LA answer to
Oh my God,
say.
I want to
you
go to
know?
Pivo. Okay, we'll try. I have
Okay,
ClassPass. It's on there.
Oh yeah, it's on
Yeah.
ClassPass. Yeah. So that. What else do I like? I mean, I love working on the pod. I just love talking to people, you know.
Okay, same.
I'm such a chatty Cathy, where I'll find a random person and I'll be like, just like just start.
I'm a yapper.
Yeah. So there's two yappers on.
Yeah.
The pod. This was like this is so long and we covered so many
I
things.
know. Please chop it up, whatever you want to do.
I so appreciate you coming on the show. I'm so grateful that we connected because I've been looking at your. I've seen your reels like for a while now.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's always
You're
like
sick
such
of
a,
me.
it's always such a nice feeling that I'm able to have like a sit down conversation. So thank you so much for coming on the show, which is like the long way of saying it.
I am so honored. I'm so glad that you reached out. And yeah, this was so much fun.
Oh.
So love it.
한 걸음 걸었던 멀리 떠나버려 I wanna get away from this Trying to find myself in this difficult world 찾으려 해봤자 전부 소용없음 I gotta be motivated, gotta be loved and need 주변 사람들이 말하지 But I need my space, my life and I'm in it now I really think it's my time I've been waiting